So are we going straight live, yeah?
Welcome, welcome. Testing. Welcome to Good Vibes, everybody. Sheroes and heroes out there, I hope you're having a blessed day. How are you?
I'm fine.
Fantastic. My name is Olivia Aleakwe. Welcome to Good Vibes, episode 2, calling it Vexit. Free your mind. This is all about well-being, and yeah, it's all about you. Throughout the show, please get in touch with your thoughts and comments and feedback. It's great. Welcome. My guest today is very special, dear to my heart, OLIVIAHALTMAN.
Thank you for
Welcome.
inviting me.
Welcome, baby. What's it called? Basically, today is going to be talking about well-being. It's what's called internal and external struggles and pressures and how to cope with that. So, as I said, please connect in the comment section below, share your thoughts, share this video. Let's do this. Also, this is adult discussion, adult content. We welcome everybody, all ages, but please know there is adult themes being discussed, so parental guidance is advised. And good go. Welcome, Olivia.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Please tell us about yourself and what you do, please.
Okay, as you already said, I'm OLIVIAHALTMAN and I'm an integrative counselor and a EMDR therapist. And for the people who don't know what counseling is, in a nutshell, it's giving people the space to speak about issues that they have, or problems that they have, things that they're going through. And it's just giving people a space to sort of explore and reflect on that, and me helping with that with my different techniques as well. Because it's not just sitting in a room and listening, but it's actually giving people the chance, but also being non-judgmental and giving feedback in a sense of not being judgmental, but giving feedback in reflection of what people are saying. Because sometimes people have problems with making connections. So I'll give my own sort of interpretation of it.
And EDMR?
EMDR.
Perfect.
EMDR is kind of newish. It came out in the 80s from Shapiro in America, and it's eye movement desensitization reprocessing. Okay. And it's eye movement therapy where you work with the brain mainly. So it's very good with people who don't really want to talk about the issues or traumas that they're going through. So the brain is really sort of bringing everything together. So the cortex and the limbic system are naturally working together with the eye movements going from the left to the right. Again, in a nutshell, more information can give me some other time.
So you are an integrative counsellor and you're a member of the British Association of Counselling and Psychotherapy.
Yeah.
So basically, what kind of support do you give? I mean, why do people come to you as well? What are the main reasons?
Okay, I work with everyone with any problem. So it could be people with like severe mental health issues, schizophrenia, bipolar, all of that. Those are the main things that people know about. But people that come to me that are stressed, they just been made redundant, for example, and trying to sort of deal with that. People who gone through bereavement. What else? I work a lot with women in sexual abuse and women that go through sexual abuse and domestic violence. Any stresses in life, really and truly. It's quite wide. It can be anger issues. It can be childhood issues. It could be issues that you had yesterday or in the past 10 years ago.
Okay. What's good? So there's a range of subject matter and things that people are having to cope with, and I just wondered what therapies, what support do you offer? Mm-hmm. What type of support?
So I have different approaches. So I'm an integrative counselor, so that means I use different approaches because I don't believe in one approach that helps for everyone else. So usually I have assessment first to see what kind of approach works better. So I do CBT, cognitive behavior training techniques. Most people know that because the NHS is using it a lot. As I said, the EMDR approach I use. Gestalt is another one that people might not know, but it's also a different approach.
Gestalt?
Yeah, Gestalt. There is a specific approach that people use when you, well, there's different examples how you can use. You can, for example, the main one that people sort of know is the chair in the room. So if you're, for example, angry at, let's say, your dad for something, you can pretend in the room that your dad is sitting on a chair, and then you reflect to your dad what you would like to say, for example. That is one example how Gestalt works.
So kind of transferal, or?
It's transferal in the sense of you pretending that someone is there, which they are obviously not, but sometimes it's good that it's reflected towards something in the room instead of to me, because in the room there's lots of energy going on as well. So sort of pretending that the chair there is the person that you're angry at, and sort of saying what's on your mind helps, because it takes it off, but also, you know, you're getting a chance to sort of speak your mind as well, and it can help a lot for a lot of people to sort of do that.
Is that how do you find out about the different people that come to you in terms of, you know, I can't always verbalize things. I kind of go into isolation, think about things, because it's not always known. So how is it? Is it easy for people to share that when it's confidential space, or?
The most important thing is the relationship with the counsellor. If there is no good bond or relationship with the counsellor, then most likely the client won't be able to say what's on their mind properly, or they can't be honest, or they won't be honest, because, you know, if they can't relate with you or don't feel comfortable with you, then it's going to be difficult. If the person finds it difficult to talk, I sometimes use creative art as well. So I will bring in crayons, papers, and, you know, props to sort of let people to express themselves through art as well. And EMDR is a very good example as well, because with EMDR it works quite different when compared to talking therapy, because you don't have to actually have this back and forth conversation with a counsellor. So the brain is doing the work, and you don't really have to share during the process what is happening for you. You can keep it to yourself quite a lot during the process. So that's quite a good way for people who find it difficult to sort of talk about their problems or issues.
Okay. So in terms of, it's good that you explained what counselling is as well, but there's, I mean, such a wide range of, you know, I hear mental health and I'm thinking, you know, what, it's a kind of disconnect to me. So how would you, you know, people who aren't, what does it mean basically? I mean, in terms of mind and trying to be, so there's wellbeing, and there's mental health. How would you explain something what that is?
Well, you have wellbeing. Wellbeing is usually the whole of you, so holistically. I would say that mental health is part of that, because it's just the mental part of it. So it's just mentally being healthy. And then you have mental health issues. A lot of times when people speak about mental health issues, they say mental health, and that's sort of confusing. So it's important to say mental health issues.
Yes.
And to say whenever you obviously mean that. And mental health, when you're just talking about in general, because everyone has mental health. Everyone has a well-being, but maybe your well-being is not, you know, it's not a good well-being. So that's the difference. And I understand when you're saying some people, when they hear mental health issues, they sort of like, oh, nothing to do with me. But mental health issues can come in different stages. It can be very severe, it can be medium, it can be very soft. It could be, for example, being sacked from work and you're very stressed because you need to find a new job. No, it can be quite stressful, and it can sort of have impact on your mental health, and it can turn into a mental health issue where you can be anxious on a very high level, for example. And those are normal things that people go through. There's nothing strange about it, but some people do sort of step back when they have mental health.
So it's very normal.
Yeah, very normal.
Speaking of stress, what advice would you give? I know everyone is different, but what general advice would you give to how to cope with stress and things like stress management, anger management, things like that, frustration?
Okay, so stress is more like a mental pressure that people have, as I said before. I don't know why, I always link it to work, but obviously you can have stress in family, you can stress of different situations, things that you want to achieve in life. There's so many different ways to deal with it. Again, I work with people as individuals. Some things work for one, it won't work for other people. But it's in general finding out why you're stressing about, because some people stress and they don't know why. So finding out why you're stressing about, or what the trigger is for the stress. Monitoring your feelings, your anxiety, or if you have panic attacks, for example. Reviewing the way that you think as well, because a lot of times what we think is what we feel goes into our body. Anxiety kicks in, panic attack kicks in. So it's looking at your thought process. Do I have a lot of negative thinking? Do I think bad about myself? The more practical things that you can do is relaxation. Do something that you like. Physical exercise. Some people like meditation or yoga. Listen to your body. That is quite important as well. Listening to how your body is communicating to you. Because our body speaks to us all the time, but we don't know sometimes how it speaks to us and what it's saying to us. So if you get more in touch with how your body is communicating, what is going on for you, you will be able to sort of know what to do as well. Food is very important. Food and mood is kind of big now in NHS and just in general. Food is really a big impact on how you feel. There's a reason why we go to sugars and all of those greasy stuff when we feel low or when we're stressed. So trying to see as well, okay, what am I eating? How is it making me feel? Try to eat something. Try to have a monitor maybe for food. You eat something after 2 hours, check how you feel. If you feel low, you know that this kind of food is making you low. If you feel okay, or maybe on a high level, you know this is kind of good. So you can sort of add and adapt what you eat because your body reacts differently to it. And sleep is a big one. Have proper sleep. Because people forget that sleep and food, those two things together are quite important as well.
Okay. And then what's kind of like you covered that as well, but that kind of feeling, speaking with different people, doing research, and it's always seemed to be the same. I've been blessed to work with different organisations from Minds to combat stress to just general frontline workers and people who are open enough just to talk about their feelings and have gone through either being sectioned or going through depression, but they can't articulate it. Others can. And, you know, as I say, you retreat into yourself. How do you, feeling of helplessness, because at the moment, there's so many people that actually, it's weird, they're fine within themselves, but it's external stresses and triggers, as you say. What advice would you give with that kind of overcoming feeling of helplessness or being overwhelmed or, you know, constantly bombarded by negative media, lack of support from family, friends, co-workers, self-pressure?
Yeah. You mentioned so many different things. Let me see.
So if you from helplessness.
Yes, so helplessness. But because you mentioned a person that is quite happy with themselves, sort of, but the outside is sort of trying to bombard them, in a sense. So there, for me, it would come down to boundaries, knowing how far you can help and how much you can take in for yourself. Everyone has a different boundary as well. So, for example, if there is a lot of media stuff that has influenced your feelings or your stress, then you have to monitor how much you watch, for example. If there is stress from family, again, there should be a boundary where you say, well, I know it's my family, but if they cannot change or don't want to change, I only can help them until then. If you take them too close, it will start to affect you. So it's finding a way to sort of maybe don't cut people off specifically, but keep them on a distance, and finding a balance where you can feel okay with doing that. Because a lot of people feel guilt. They feel that they're responsible and that they have to help. Some people always want to help, and that affects your own well-being as well. So it's knowing when you have to stop with the support or give less support in order for yourself not to be affected by it. Because realistically, you're the most important person, but without being egoistic about it. Because if you're not healthy, no one else can be healthy that you're going to support or help or raise or anything like that. So I think the boundary for yourself is quite important. Talking to people, I think, always helps. Talking to people doesn't help for everyone. But, there's a stigma of talking to people about your issues or how you feel, and people don't always know how to deal with it. So I think that's a big barrier as well. People don't supposed to know how I feel, or, they will be judgmental when I tell them how I feel, because I'm always seen like a person that's always supportive and helping, so I can't sort of show my vulnerable side, even though you feel okay about yourself. So it's really sort of asking yourself reflective questions, where it's coming from and where you can put that boundary and where you can push yourself to sort of find support, to talk to someone that can help. Because sometimes when you have issues with families, for example, the family is never going to change. I won't say never, but the patterns in families sometimes. So if you know that this person has always been like that since you were little or always, you're always going to get that. So it's up to you to change that for yourself. So you will change yourself and say, well, actually, it's up to here, and then that's it. And sometimes it actually helps the other person, because you always help. They always come. So if you stop it, they will find it somewhere else, and hopefully they find it within and do something about it.
Us lead by example?
Yes, lead by example for yourself, to take care of yourself, and hopefully also other people will see that, you know what, this person puts the boundary there, I have to respect it. And maybe they can learn from you as a person, well, actually, this is quite helpful, and it's quite, a good tip, even though you don't tell them. You lead by example, by action sometimes, because they can see that it works.
But that whole kind of thing is, I'm thinking, a lot of people are actually fine within themselves.
Yeah.
They're happy in their well-being internally, but it's the external pressures. So if anyone, even if you have self-help, it's like time management. There's no point in, sometimes I've noticed, there's no point in having time management when the team is going against it. There's conflicting priorities. Everything's a priority.
Yeah.
It's, it's adrenaline, but actually it's not. It's that kind of, postal system. Nothing's moving, nothing's changing. So of course you're carrying all of that. So I mean, it feels like you're trying to move a mountain. So how, if a person's fine within themselves,
how do they change
then the family or the workplace or the life support of friends don't want to change. There is denial. Don't want to deal with the real. How can you change that when you need that support network?
You have to find somewhere else, because you literally won't be able to change your family. You won't be able to change all of those people around you. You can't change the media. Those things are out of your control. How people behave, you can't control. You only can control what you can do. So if you feel that someone has put that, even at work, even they put a lot of pressure on you, you can still make a decision. The decision could be even as extreme to leave. Because if you're in a position for such a long time, or even a short period of time, and you see how it's affecting you, by you staying there, you are putting yourself in a position. And for them to behave like that, it's their responsibility. But if you're there and you're taking it, then it will, you can't really do anything about their reactions. And if you decide to stay, then you have to look at, okay, I'm staying now. What can I do to still deal with it? For example, real quick, everyone can leave, but not everyone wants to leave for their own reasons as well. So while I'm here, what can I do for myself? What can I have? Relaxation. You can put stuff around you if you feel comfortable. You can monitor yourself. Okay, if this situation arises again, what can I do not to get anxious, because I know it's going to come? What can I do for myself? People do meditation sometimes during work, or when they know they have to go to a family meeting and they go to meet whoever it makes them stress. You can have use of affirmations. Affirmations, positive statements, let's say like that. Positive statements to yourself. So there's different things that you can use to prepare yourself to go in a toxic environment, let's say like that.
So it's really arm yourself in a positive way.
Definitely, yeah. Because really and truly, that's all you can do. Arm yourself with positivity and hopefully learn from that. And do it better the next time, because if you choose to stay in that environment, it's going to be like that. And sometimes when you start to do it, you will see that people start to change and situations start to change as well. Because you can only change yourself. And that's why people mainly come to me as well, because they start to look and reflect on themselves as well. Sometimes you have people that have always something happening to them all the time, the same pattern coming, same partner, same situation. It's one situation that sort of actually is repeating themselves in different people, but it's something that you only can sort of stop by looking at yourself and seeing, what is the real issue that is going on.
So in terms of, when you were saying that, in terms of the workplace as well, you mentioned something that triggered an article. I remember an article I read about research into the wrong job can actually bring down your well-being, of course, and that erode your spirit. So it's very ironic when there's kind of status anxiety in having that job, that salary, to get that car, that this.
Yeah.
But you're in the wrong job. But the thing is, it's like, it's great, your advice about finding the balance and such, but there's a lot of pressure. It's like, sorry, you want to be a grime artist. Sorry, you want to be a startup. You want to do this. Not the traditional stuff. That's very hard to go against your parents, and it's all well-intentioned, good love. So is that positive armor going to help that kind of situation?
Well, if you're in a position where you felt that you're pressured in, that's what you're saying, right? That you feel that you want to do this, but you're pressured to be in a specific job because of status, because of what people expect from you, and sort of you're trapped in that, and you want to get out. A lot of times, you only will get out when it's a mind switch that goes off. Because I can tell the person 100 times you need to leave, but they won't leave until they want to leave, or until they have a burnout, or I call that burnt out, and something else I want to say, or they're super stressed, or some people literally can't get out of bed.
Kind of mental exhaustion.
Yeah, mental, but also physical. Well, mental it turns into physical. Some people literally can't move because they're so burned out or so stressed about it. So there has to be something that's going to work in your mind for it to change. Because some people are in it and don't even realize that you're in it. And once you're in it, you're probably going to look for solutions as well. But a lot of times people get to that breaking point before they change it around as well.
Breaking point. There's a lot of people are in that situation, and that's the whole kind of thing. I want to talk to you, what would be your advice, and maybe you can term this better than I, what would be your advice about you're wearing different hats, having to, I call it like the dual heritage, dual personalities, i.e. you're yourself, you're one way with your friends, you're another way at work, different hats. And is that part of any therapies that you heard? Is that part of mental health issues?
I would say it can turn into one. If you don't feel that you fit in society, I had clients from same background as me, African Caribbean people, that don't feel that they fit in the workplace, for example, and they feel that they have to wear or speak a specific way and they're not accepted. And they find it quite difficult. So they wear one hat when they're at work, dress a specific way, speak a specific way, and at home they are a different person. So that can cause a lot of stress. I mean, stress and mental health is sometimes related to genetic stuff as well. So if there are mental health issues in the family, it's sometimes reoccurring for the next person as well.
Did you say genetically, or is that environment, or passed on?
No, passed on. Yeah, passed on. So if anyone in your family had any mental health issues in the past, for example, you're more likely to be in that situation as well, according to research.
Okay.
So going back to the identity, it can cause a lot of mental health issues for some people, from very mild to severe, where you can feel stressed because obviously when you're at work, you don't feel like you're yourself. So you have to be this specific person. And as we know, if you work full time, you're at work 9 to 5 or even longer. So most of the day, you're actually a person that you're not. So imagine how much stress that is, that you can't go with your headscarf, for example, or you can't speak your own language, not even your language, but with a specific accent, you have to speak with a specific accent or
slang.
Exactly, you can't speak a specific way, and you can't behave a specific. So it goes against your nature almost. So for some people, it can be quite difficult.
It's a dual life.
Yeah, exactly, and it can definitely lead into some people being stressed, but also anxiety, and or even going to the point where they get a diagnosis as well. So
what type of diagnosis?
Schizophrenia, bipolar, any of the lists that they have. Okay. I mean, I don't really believe in those labels, but that's sort of how they are diagnosed.
Okay. Well, at least there's a diagnosis for it, and there's a start.
Yeah.
To that kind of journey.
Yeah. But I say I don't believe in it. I believe that those symptoms are there.
Yes.
But I understand why they put the labels, but sometimes because of the labels, they sort of, this is it, and they don't look out of it, and sometimes there is much more behind it. I understand that people hear voices, but to label it sometimes can help, because that's how you get support, but sometimes at the same time it's stigma, and it's just a specific thing, and sometimes it's more than just that diagnosis as well when you start talking to people, to clients.
Thing is, the reality, what I'm seeing sometimes is in terms of symptoms. There's people that talk to themselves on the street out loud because they're coming out full to capacity inside. That's not weird. That's not weird. It's just probably just trying to find semblance and anchor their thoughts for some. Yeah. Then there's what's it called? Treatments.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the intake of alcohol, drugs. All these kind of things, prescribed drugs, all these kind of things that are okay. And what do you think about the therapies that you're talking about are non-medicinal, non-pharmaceutical? Have you ever referred anybody for that? Is there ever an absolute need? Do you believe in that?
I think sometimes it does help, but I do think that some medication do help, but with a specific plan on short term, because some people are really at a stage where people really don't know what to do, and if it's really, really serious where they actually want to hurt themselves or someone, then or more someone else, to be honest, then I can understand why they do it. But when I work with my clients, a lot of times I used to work for a organization called the Akaba Project. I was working with black men specifically, and the amount of time that they were on medication for years and years and years, I just didn't understand why they had to be on it for such a long time, reading their medical background. And I think that's where I think I personally might have a problem with it, where there is no specific plan and they're on it for like 20 years or life, really realistically as well. But for some people, antidepressants do help if they take it for whatever time. Okay. But if it's longer, you can be sort of attached to it, and then people can't function sometimes. Some people can, but it's still a drug that you put into your body, if you know what I mean.
Okay, moving on. What kind of advice would you give for bereavement?
Bereavement
and loss.
Bereavement and loss. Again, everyone reacts differently to it. I think realizing that you're not alone might help. Realizing the process of bereavement. There are different researches done regarding bereavement. But for me personally, I think the acceptance comes first, and I think that's something that is quite difficult for people to sort of go through, because how do you accept it? What does it actually mean? So accepting that the person passed. Also understanding that you have to go through a certain amount of pain. The pain physically, mentally, that's going to happen most of the time. Some people block it, so they pretend nothing happens, but at some point it will come out in different ways as well. And then finding a way to sort of live with it. Finding a new routine. If it's your partner, for example, finding a new routine, living without that person, and sort of giving the whole reality sort of positive action helps. Obviously, talking therapy helps, but again, some people find it quite difficult.
What's talking therapy?
Talking therapy is counselling.
Okay.
That is talking therapy. Finding there's different services that specifically are aimed for bereavement, and it's sort of literally airing your grief how you feel, how the process is going, and exploring ways of how to deal with it as well. So I definitely would say, and if people don't want to go to talking therapy, try to speak to other people and sort of explore or share feelings also with family or whoever it is, and give yourself time, and also realize that it's not going to sort of change. You're not going to be over it in 1 minute. Some people don't know where to put it over a year. Some people take years and years and years to do it as well. Yeah. But give yourself time. Don't be too hard on yourself, because at the end of the day, it's someone that you lost. Yes. And it is going to be painful. It is going to be horrible. All of that. Sort of making it sort of a realization of, it's okay to feel like that. It's okay to feel that it's okay to cry, even,
Yeah. It's I went to, I'm allergic to exercise.
Are you?
I did, as you know. And a long time ago, I went to a yoga class, and I can't remember. It was a root. I think it was Southeast Asian roots and Sanskrit or something. But what I was surprised by, the teacher, the trainer was saying, you hold on to different traumas in your different organs, which I didn't know.
Yeah.
Does that ever come through in the sessions that you have with different people? In what ways? Are they always surprised that they?
No, because trauma is held in the nervous system, and the nervous system is something that we don't really see. No, you see a kidney, but you don't really see the nervous system. But trauma is held in the nervous system, where it sometimes goes into different parts of your body. I mean, I don't know if there's a specific disease goes in a specific body part. I don't think there is. But definitely our body takes on a lot of stress. Some people can hold it quite well and not realizing it, and some people, it comes out in a headache. It comes out in an allergy. It comes out in a stomach ache, like very normal day kind of things. Some people more severe, unfortunately, as well. But they don't link into any trauma at the same time. So definitely, we hold on loads of traumas, even from childhood. I was watching a video the other day, and they gave an example of a child falling off the bike, and the parents saying, "Oh no, it's okay, don't worry, there's no pain." And the woman was saying, by saying that, even though it's a small thing, you're teaching the child how not to listen to pain. So from a young age, some people are learned to sort of not to listen to pain. There's no pain. So when pain comes, they can go into that severe mental health stage, because it's like too much to deal with. So from a very young age, some people are taught how to suppress pain. So pain comes, no, it's not there. So what happens, it goes into your nervous system, where it can come to your body parts, but also mentally it can come out. Well, that's why people sometimes are aggressive. And I'm not saying that's one example, will do that, but when you suppress the pain over time till you whatever age, it can come out in certain ways. Everyone deals with it differently, but you have cases where, pain doesn't exist, but realistically pain does exist. Yeah. So you're putting it away, and when it comes out, it can be.
So it's a time bomb.
I would say so, yeah. And some people also create patterns unconsciously because of that. But I think the body and our mind and how we have connection with our body is very important, because your body tells you everything what is happening. But if you block stuff, then that connection is not there, and it's a disassociation. So definitely, I think I believe that what a yoga teacher told you.
This is interesting, because that kind of thing, if you look inward or you reach out for help, it could transform. It's that catalyst for change that you want. And now I understand why. Okay, so for example, if you've inherited certain traumas, can't deal with it, too busy to deal with it, as I always call it, walking wounded. Yeah. And I also understand why there's a lot of relationships that break down with self, with partners. Then you find the help, because you have the closure or the acknowledgement, and then you re-find each other. But I get it. But if there's more honesty, do you think there'd be less walking wounded? Or is it just about...
If there was more honesty about...
More honesty about what people are going through, personal experiences, and openness to listen. to each other.
Yeah, I think that will change.
Yeah.
And as you said, some traumas are maybe from the past, are from our ancestors, because that's what we carry that as well. Everyone carry pains or traumas from ancestors, so those things are more difficult to tap in as well. And that's why the talking part is quite important. Also talking to your parents, to your grandparents, if you have great grandparents, just to know what's happening in the family. And obviously we know our background, so we know that trauma is there, slave and all of that. And that's something very big as well that we carry extra on top of the normal traumas as well. So it can be quite complex at some point as well. But that's why it's good to talk, to know, this auntie has this, this grandpa has this. So you can prepare yourself and sort of make preventions for yourself to sort of, okay, this is in my family, so I know that there might be a chance, or I have a bigger chance that, and preventing yourself from it. And trying to be honest and open is quite important, but it's probably the most difficult thing for people to sort of be honest to themselves, because you're in a comfortable space and you would like to be there sometimes, and then confronting yourself or challenging yourself can be quite hard, because then you have to know when they say, you have to look in the mirror. That's statement. It's quite difficult for some people to do, to be
man in the mirror.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, we can do this. We can do this.
I'm just listening.
Excuse the bad singing. It took me. Another thing I want to talk about. So those are all emotional stress, things that we carry on and can change. I think it's very, very. There's so many people that want to change and they have the potential to change. Not everybody can. There's lots of things I know I won't change, but I have acknowledged and come to terms to that. But there's that emotional stress is very, very real in both men and women. We've seen that, and at least we can help each other, as you say. I wanted to ask about your experiences with for support and counselling for victims and survivors of rape and sexual attack. Tell me how you provide support for something.
I will provide support. Well, first of all, as I said before, giving them the space, because even though we hear those things quite a lot, it's still not understood as far as I can see how it affects your daily on a single day, and how it affects your behavior, your emotions, your body. There's so much stuff where domestic violence and sexual abuse affects you on a daily basis if you've been through it. So again, it's like a whole quote. It's like, again, talking about it. I think because it releases a lot. A lot of people can do it without, but then how do you release? No, finding a way to release. So if it's not talking, how can you release it? How can you actually sort of, because the thing is, if you have a trauma that's not been processed, it's still going to be there. So I was looking at how to sort of get it out. It could be by talking, it could be by practical stuff, because the meditation and relaxation, all of that is just short-term kind of things. If you do it together, obviously you have a well-being in general, but to deal with a specific trauma, it's still going to be there on some level as well. So it's really finding peace with it. It sounds strange, but peace with that it happened, and obviously you're never going to forget it, but sort of looking back at it and not feeling anxious and not feeling this panic attack or not feeling all of these feelings. It's just going back to it with your thoughts, knowing that it happened. But looking at how it made you stronger at some point, and obviously that point takes a while to get to, because it's a horrific thing that happens to people. So it takes time to sort of understand and process it. If you don't go to counselling, find a support worker or find a friend. But sometimes it's quite difficult to go in details to people that you know, and people feel a lot of guilt to sort of go to the same friends all the time, because this can sometimes take years before you actually process for some people, and they feel quite guilty, so they can feel quite isolated or in that way.
Speaking of involving others, close ones or professional or confidential counsellor like yourself, you've told me this mentioned family review. What does that mean? What is that?
We spoke about it before. Family review links to what we spoke a little bit before, but could be just talking about issues in the family, problems in the family, dimensions in the family. It's not the easiest way to do, obviously, but it's important that if there is a specific dimension, that, or it's acknowledged or mentioned. And some things you won't solve because, again, other people might not be interested in, but sometimes just airing it out. And if some other family members are interested, you can actually work on it together to sort of actually solve whatever needs to be solved. Again, also linking to the past, but also at present. How's your relationship with your mom? How could you change it? Is there an option to speak to her about it, or can you have a whole family review? But that's it can be very challenging because there's so many characters and some families are so huge. But you can start sometimes with one person and sort of approach them with, okay, I have an issue with this, or I have a problem with this. What can we do about it? And see how you can sort of get things out of your system and actually put it out there.
A start.
And get acknowledgement or information or whatever you needed as well. But it's a part of building, unities again within the family as well. And again, some people are not interested, and if they're not interested, then you have to look. Okay, I tried. They don't want to. This is how it's going to be. What can I do for myself in order not to get in that same situation again? Or if I'm in the same situation, how do I keep myself calm? Or if I don't stay calm, what do I do afterwards?
Thank you so much for those insights. What's it called? Before we carry on, I just wanted to find out some positive. We always try and add some positivity and solution-focused stuff that's going on. Tell me about the charity that you are fundraising for, and also why you're doing it, and also what you're doing as well.
Okay. It's not a charity.
Okay.
It's a charity. It's a charitable organization. Okay. Just to be clear, because people might think that we're officially a UK
What's the difference?
charity. If you're officially a UK charity, then you have to go to this whole list of forms to fill in. You have to pay £5,000. I don't know. Yeah, there's a whole list. You have to pay £5,000, and you also need to sort of raise a specific amount per year. So it's all official and paperwork and everything like that.
Sounds like a business.
And we don't. Yeah, what can I say? So instead of doing that, we just charitable organization.
Okay, what's it called?
The PEN Network. So it's promoting educational network. And 2 years ago we had a dinner and dance where we raised money for a school in Ghana, or they at school. Probably pronounced it wrong. I'm really sorry. But this year we decided to do a few activities. So yesterday I started my raw food challenge for 2 weeks. And I'm doing a bike ride challenge for 4 hours as well, on the 29th of April. And we have a 10K run. What else do we have?
10K.
10K run. Yeah, my friend Tony is doing it.
Let me do it. Let me support you from the sidelines. I can't join in there, but good luck.
Yeah, we will be fine.
How's the raw food diet going?
Yeah, I'm actually excited about it.
Okay.
To try some new stuff. So it will be good. But we're looking for more sponsors. Okay. So that would be good. We have a crowdfunding page. I don't have the information here, but I do have the website.
I will add all the details afterwards. More importantly, how can people connect with you and to take this further if needs be, or refer?
Okay. I'm on LinkedIn with Olivia Haltman. My organization is called OH Services. Website www.counselling-workshops.co.uk, because I also do workshops and seminars and all of that. That should be enough, right?
Okay. All of these and more will be added to the link with this video, which will be available shortly. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Again, to our special guest, Olivia Haltman of OH Services. All the links will be below. Peace from palm to heart to you guys.
Thank you.